Hey folks, welcome to PlayBranson, Branson's top show about Branson's entertainers. Every once in a while, we go a little different direction, and today we are going a completely different direction, but it ties into Branson's entertainment scene. I'm your host, Chris Meyer, and on today's show, I have Dr. Joanna Dee. Now, she's the author of a new book out called Faith, Family, and Flag, Branson Entertainment and the Idea of America. I heard her talk about her book recently and said we should have her on the show. Today's episode is brought to you by iBranson.com, where you can plan your entire Branson vacation. So be sure to visit iBranson.com. Need a Branson show schedule? Well, you can now go to the vacationchannel.com website and you can see Branson show and attraction schedules. Click on the schedule button in the top right-hand corner of the website. We'll be back with Dr. Joanna Dee in just a moment. Don't turn that channel. Have you seen our new PlayBranson magazine? Well, if you want to know more about Branson's shows, attractions, golf, the lakes, and more, you need to get the PlayBranson magazine. It's free. It's located all over town in racks, so be sure to pick up a PlayBranson magazine. Hey folks, welcome back to PlayBranson. And on today's show, for the very first time, I have Dr. Joanna Dee. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Awesome. And folks, this is the first time I've ever had an author on the show that I can recall. So maybe I did, and it's been years ago, but I'm pretty sure you are the first author that we've had.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me.
And so you've written this book, folks.
Yes.
Look at this. I'm going to hold it up here. Faith, Family, and Flag, Branson's Entertainment and the Idea of America. And we're going to talk about this book, but we need to get to know who the author is.
Sure.
Like, why did you write this book, and like, what prompted that? And give us your background.
Sure. So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, grew up there, and I grew up dancing. And some of my dance teachers were from Branson. This was kind of the 80s, 90s heyday, and I had a lot of teachers who had cycled through performing in Branson and then came and taught there. And of course, it's a very popular vacation destination for people from St. Louis. So I knew all about Branson growing up. Went to college in New York City, danced professionally for a while, but was also always loved history. I loved history from being a teenager. And so I decided to go back to school and get my PhD in history. And I was really interested in cultural history. I wanted to write about the history of theater and dance in America and how it was important to kind of our national story. And I felt that Branson was greatly overlooked in the history of American popular entertainment. And I know some people locally had written really great books about Branson, but kind of on a national landscape, it had been overlooked, even though it's such a major dynamic place. You know, you think about New York City or Los Angeles or Las Vegas or Chicago, and Branson is up there, even though those other cities I named have like millions of people.
Right.
And so I thought it was just fascinating. How did this small city of, for most of its lifespan, under 10,000 people, become such a major entertainment destination? And so when I moved back to Missouri in 2016, I got a job at Washington University in St. Louis. I'm a professor there in the Performing Arts Department and affiliated with the History Department. I decided to write my second book about Branson. And so my first book was about a choreographer named Katherine Dunham and how she was a part of the Civil Rights Movement. And so when I came back, and starting in 2017, I decided I was going to write about Branson. And in 2018, I started the research. And 7 years later,
7 years.
Here
so
we are.
Folks, like, this took some time,
yes.
right? But I want to go back for a second, because you went to New York City and you were a performer there.
Yeah.
And why come back to the Midwest, I guess?
Well, I love the Midwest, and I had a really positive childhood growing up in St. Louis. My parents were still there, and my spouse is in medicine, and it was very hard for us to find jobs together. After New York City, I worked out, and I did a job at Stanford for a year, this small college called Williams College in Western Mass, but it was very hard for my spouse to also find a job. And when this job opened up at Washington University, which also is a great medical school, he's an academic doctor, so he likes to do research. And it seemed like this perfect thing to be near my family. Both of us could have jobs at the same institution. And it's just really been wonderful being back. My parents helped raise my kids, so it's been lovely.
I think you have a really unique background in the fact that you have been a performer, and now you're a professor in your history, and so it kind of all works together.
Yeah. I love being able to bring together my love of history and my love of performance and of performers. So
yeah. Now, in me doing some research, I noticed that you have written some, I don't know if you'd call them papers or scholarly works or something.
Yeah.
That had Branson in the title.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't get to read them, but this isn't the first thing you've done with Branson, right?
No, so because it took me 7 years to write the book, along the way I would publish little short articles. A couple are really easily available online through this thing called The Conversation. I talk about how during the pandemic, when lots of theaters were feeling in crisis, I found Branson kind of inspirational in marrying together what I say, story and spectacle. So there's that. I also wrote a short paper about kind of the figure of the hillbilly, right? And how that's kind of a complicated figure that some people find really positive and some people find negative. And how do Branson performers navigate that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because some people are like, that's part of the culture, but then they're like, okay, it's hokey, we got to get rid of it. And so you kind of see that back and forth. But there are comedy, as you know, has been a big part of the Branson entertainment scene.
Yeah.
So 7 years to do this. Why did it take so long?
Well, I also had to do a full-time job teaching, and then I had my two small kids, and there's a pandemic in the middle of there. But it also takes a long time to do this kind of historical research. You know, I went to the White River Valley Historical Society, and I sat there and went through newspapers. I interviewed dozens of performers and other people from Branson. I amassed my own personal archive from eBay because I wanted to see as many shows as I could, and not just present day shows, but historically as far back as I could. I have this great LP from one of the earliest Bald Knobbers shows from the late 1960s. And it's a live recording of a show from like 1968, 1969. And that's just incredible. But, you know, I was constantly scouring to try to find as many recordings as I could. So it just takes a lot of time to kind of really try to tell a story that's many decades long.
You can tell in this book that you have spent a lot of time and effort. And we're going to stop right there, and we're going to come back and talk more about this book in just a second. So hang tight. Going to Branson for some relaxation and fun? You've got to stay with Branson's award-winning hotel family, Meyer Hotels. Meyer Hotels features 4 hotels in Branson with the best locations for your trip. Choose from brands you know and trust, like the Holiday Inn Express on Green Mountain Drive, the Best Western Centerpoint Inn, Comfort Inn at Thousand Hills, and the Comfort Inn and Suites. Enjoy refreshing indoor pools and hot tubs. Do you like free? How about a free hot breakfast each morning? Free vacation planning services, and of course, smiles are always free. Want even more value? Go to MeyerHospitality.com and join our e-club to save 15% off your next stay and check out incredible deals with our vacation packages. Call 1-877-FUN-STAY to book Branson's award-winning hotels or visit MeyerHospitality.com. It's your safe choice for award-winning lodging in Branson. MeyerHospitality.com. Hey folks, welcome back to PlayBranson. On today's show, I have Dr. Joanna Dee, and she has written this book. I just love the feel of this book, by the way.
Thanks.
Faith, Family, and Flag, Branson Entertainment and the Idea of America. And I tell you what, I was flipping through it earlier, and the amount of what I'd say citations in the back of the book, I am like, holy cow. So tell people, what is this book all about?
Sure. So this book is a history of the Branson entertainment industry, and also how it has been kind of caught up in the culture wars for the past century. I take the motto of Faith, Family, and Flag that Branson lives by, and that is kind of the organizing structure for the book. But I add my own F's. So these are the 3 F's, right? Faith, Family, and Flag. But I add some of my own. So I start with foundation, and that goes back to Harold Bell Wright, the Shepherd of the Hills. And many people might not know he was both a best-selling author and someone that was caught up in the culture wars. Literary critics were quite mean to him. People used to be so mean.
Yeah.
We think about anonymous internet trolls today, but people wrote in print very mean things. So he was already this kind of controversial figure. So that kind of laid the foundation. And then I do a chapter called Folk and Frontier, which is about the Shepherd of the Hills outdoor drama and Silver Dollar City and how those are important foundations of the Branson entertainment industry. Then I do family. Then I have a chapter called Free Enterprise, because that is also very important to Branson, idea of independent small businesses, but also how the rise of kind of Branson on a national scale started to create new opportunities, but also new challenges for Branson. What does it mean to become in the national eye? Then we go to faith, and that's also the 1990s period, again, when Branson kind of gets caught up in those early culture wars of the 1990s. Then we have flag, and then we have future, thinking about where Branson might go from here. I'm not a fortune teller, I'm a historian, so I don't know the answer. And then in the end is an epilogue, where I talk about a little bit about my own experience as a scholar in this moment, writing about Branson and, one experience I had early on in research, and then how that's kind of shifted 4 years later after talking to people and seeing shows and really learning to appreciate the values that Branson brings to theater. So
Yeah. Now, there's something in the back of this book as well, where you have like literally every show from, was it 1959 to 24?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Thousands. That itself took 3 full years and multiple student research assistants to help me try to put that together. So it's an appendix of all the shows that I could find that have been in residence in Branson. So maybe not when, someone came for a weekend show, but if they kind of were in residence in a theater for the season, or, it's in there. And I thought that was important to do because I was so frustrated that we have ibdb.com for Broadway. We have IMDb for movies, these internet databases that any movie you want to find out about, any Broadway show, you can look it up. There was nothing like that for Branson.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of things at the Centennial Museum where they've tried to put together these lists, and it's all like, it's hard. It's hard to do. So yes, there's a 30-page appendix of every show, and I try to also note when the show title changed and also when the theater changed, because a lot of these shows theater hopped.
Oh, yes.
So
we call it on tour in Branson.
Yes.
That's what we call it.
So I tried to demarcate what year they started and ended in which theater. And so that was, and I hope to do a kind of electronic version of it at some point. I'd love there to be a Branson database in the same way there is for Broadway, because really it's a remarkable, rich history of live entertainment here.
Yeah. So in your presentation that I saw, you talked about, you really thought Branson was at the forefront in some things. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think Branson's at the forefront of 3 major things, theatrical developments, I would say. And the first that I talked about in Springfield was the idea of immersive theater, which is a buzzword today in theater. Everyone wants to be immersive, right? And Branson was at the forefront of it in the 1960s when Lloyd, better known as Shad Heller, helped stage the first outdoor Shepherd of the Hills drama. And he really did immerse the audience. You walked, and I'm sure you've been too. You walk down into this outdoor amphitheater. You really get involved in the atmosphere. You're in the woods. You're hearing the leaves and the rocks crunch under your feet. It's a dirt stage. The buildings are not just facades. They're real 3-dimensional buildings. There are real horses.
Yes.
The rifles are real. They shoot blanks, obviously, but the real sound of a rifle happens. And in the early years, the audience would help put out the cabin fire.
Yeah.
People would come from the audience with buckets and put out the cabin fire.
That's wild.
And audience was invited to come dance at intermission, which I have done. Have you done it? Have you danced at intermission?
I don't know that I've danced, but I do know they let people go there.
Yes. And when I interviewed Keith Thurman, who used to be the director there, and I said, well, during intermission, you dance with the characters? I said, are they still in character as their 19th century selves, or are they just allowed to be their normal 21st century selves? And he's like, well, a lot of them are both all the time. So that kind of thing really does immerse you as an audience in the experience. And that was very unheard of in the 1960s in American theater. There's some avant-garde people in New York doing it, and they were seen as doing these happenings, and that's where it happened. But I would say Branson was the place that innovated that. I'll just quickly mention the other two so I don't ramble on too long. But the second is keeping alive the variety show tradition. And that's really important. It's a really important form of popular entertainment, dates back to the 19th century. And I say variety shows and vaudeville were the original TikTok because our human brain likes variety. And Branson entertainers are really expert at putting together a well-crafted variety show that includes music and comedy and audience interaction and dance. So that's the second thing that I think Branson theater has really kept alive in a vibrant way. And the third is Christian entertainment, using the theater in particular to kind of support Christianity. So I think those are three things that Branson is really important to the history and present day theater world in America.
I think you nailed it, and I think that's really good. And I mean, people don't always think about this, but you come from it of an angle of like a history as well in theater, and saying, how do I look at this from almost like the professor standpoint to say, what does that look like? And I think what I find really interesting today is some of the top shows on television, like America's Got Talent, are entertainment, but variety, right?
Variety,
and so there's a lot of variety there. And so, of course, a lot of entertainers in Branson have been on America's Got Talent and some of those kind of things. So let's talk a little bit about the politics, okay? Because Branson has been conservative overall, but I think you said it's also been we've been able to be in harmony with a variety of people, even in the market. Is that right? Did I classify that right?
Yeah. I think, Branson is a diverse place and people have different viewpoints here, right? Even though historically, and if you look at kind of the voting record, it's a conservative place. Taney County has voted Republican since 1936 for president, and since 1960, the 7th District has been represented by the Republican Party. So it's a solidly red place, you could say. But within that, there's a variety of viewpoints and a variety of approaches to faith, family, and flag. For some people, these are kind of pre-political values that are just values of human beings, right? And then for other people, they are a kind of political platform, a kind of a guiding path forward on a specific political path. So both exist in Branson, I think, and there's been moments of tension when people want to kind of reaffirm a conservative identity. And then there's and then other people who really want to be as broad-based as possible. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the distinction, or what you said, and it was subtle, is this whole the values in what we'd say God, family, and country. Some people would say, like you just said, is that's not conservative or liberal. That's just America.
Right.
But there are other people that say no. It's not. And so I think that's an interesting thing, because I don't know that I've thought about it like that before.
And one of the ways I thought about it is, for example, I think of like inclusivity is also a pre-political value. Excuse me. Like, who wouldn't want to be inclusive, right? But when it becomes part of DEI, it ends up being caught up in a political world, whether I want it to or not, right? Like, I might desire for inclusivity to be seen as a very neutral, pre-political value. Like, who wouldn't want to include people in something, right? But I also have to be aware of the fact that other people are wrapping it up in a kind of political identity. So I think that can be the case sometimes with faith, family, and flag.
Yeah. Okay, folks, here's the deal. Okay, tell people where they can get this book and learn more about Branson and its history and entertainment.
You can buy this book on Amazon.com, Target.com, through my press, University of Chicago Press. Hopefully it'll be available in your local bookstore soon. There will be copies in your local library soon. So yeah, and please reach out if you read it. You can Google me, find my email address. I'd love to hear your thoughts, opinions, feedback. I really would love to engage with people about the book. Yeah. And it was a pleasure to write and to work with folks at the Centennial Museum, White River Valley Historical Society, all the entertainers I interviewed. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, well, thank you, I think, for just taking so much time to spend in our community, doing research, putting this in a book. Like you said, it was hard to do this. And so I haven't even read this yet, but I know it's a treasure because the amount of time and effort you took to do this is amazing.
Well, thank you so much.
So folks, go check this book out. Go to Amazon, go to the University of Chicago Press, and let's support her and let's learn more about the roots of our entertainment industry. We'll be back in just a second to wrap the show up.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need iBranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at iBranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. iBranson.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking to author Dr. Joanna Dee, who has written this book, Faith, Family, and Flag, Branson's Entertainment and the Idea of America. Now, if you'd like a copy of the book, it's available at the University of Chicago Press, and I'm also guessing you can find it on Amazon.com as well as Target and lots of other outlets for books. Now, if you need help booking tickets for any show or attraction to Branson, be sure to call the folks at iBranson.com. You can call them at 877-ENTERTAIN or just go to the website, ibranson.com, to start planning your next vacation to Branson. Now, you can find all of our past Play Branson episodes on social media, on Facebook, on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll know every time we launch a new episode. It's at Play Branson. Be sure to support live entertainment because it's always better in person. That's it for today. We'll see you soon here on Play Branson.